Brothers in Tech is a weekly podcast focused on personal and home technology, helping provide you, our fellow brothers and sisters in tech, with some information, assistance, and recommendations. If the last couple of years have taught us anything, it's that we better know how to participate in virtual meetings. It might be time to step up your virtual game by improving your video and audio presence. In this week's episode, the brothers discuss and demonstrate some tips for looking and sounding your best online with enhanced strategies and hardware. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Brothers in Tech here on the Mesh.tv podcast network. My name is Alan Jackson. With me on the other end of the country, but also on the other side of the screen, is my brother, Brian Jackson. How you doing, Brian?
I'm good. Alan, have you figured out which direction I am on the screen? Let's see. Let's see if you can get your first option.
This way.
Look, you got it. You got it.
I got it. Yep.
Nice.
It's the opposite of what I see on the screen. Yep. There you go. You're pointing. We are, in case you're listening on audio and you have no idea what we're talking about, we are on video as well. We have a video version of the show. So we are showcasing our video cameras, which is kind of apt for the discussion we're going to have today, where we're going to be talking about some ideas, tips, and tricks for making your web conferencing, video and audio look and sound as good as possible.
Increase your web presence, right? Your web, your aura, your presence in these meetings, right?
Well, because again, I mean, I know when we did an episode on video conferencing early on in our show, and that was more the techniques and just knowing what you need to have a good ability to do video conferencing. And at that time, we really highlighted that episode because the world was going through the early stages of a pandemic, and we were all working from home and distancing ourselves. I wish I could say that 2 years later that we've completely gotten past that, but we haven't. We're still in the throes of, obviously, a lot of people doing remote working and needing to social distance still quite a bit. So we're still looking at ways to make our web and video presence, like you say, look and sound as good as possible. And that's what we're going to talk about. Both webcams, sound, microphones, kind of what's some good techniques and tips to use to make sure that you're giving off the best presence you can when you're doing your remote FaceTime calls or Zoom calls or anything else it may be where you're using this equipment. And Brian, we're talking about this because this all kind of falls in line with us. The reason we have Brothers in Tech as a show is to talk about home and family and personal technology, some helpful hints, tips, and discussions about these various technologies we find ourselves using every day. And I can say from my standpoint, I am on this type of setting, just like what you're seeing right now, probably still a good 2 to 3 hours a day, at least, some days more. So I think I've spent a little more time trying to upgrade my visual look a little bit. I'll show you some examples of what we're talking about that in a minute. Some different ways people can up their game a bit.
This isn't the upped version, right? Because I was going to
No, this is actually, I'm going to show you some better versions. This is the base level. This is the base level I've got right now. So
no, I mean, I think what you said is right, that we are a home technology solutions podcast. However, in the last 2 years, home and office have begun to blend together, right? They become kind of all in one. So I think I think this is a good one to have and to rehash out a little bit about how do we kind of make the best. And certainly we have not perfected it, but we certainly can recognize some things that are good tips to use as you're trying to create that effective presence in your web meetings. So, all right,
let's start off talking about. Let's talk video first, like visual, and then we'll get to audio sound a little bit later. Because I do think there's some different techniques and different tips and tricks to know for the two sides of the coin there. So starting with video, starting with what you see visually, okay. Most people's laptops or devices they're using, we're going to have a built-in camera. And that's normally the easiest one to by default use. But the biggest thing, no matter what camera you use, whether you're using the one built into your device that you're going to use as your primary camera, or whether you're going to have an external one, the number one thing, Brian, I always say that is going to make the biggest difference on how your video content looks is lighting. Okay.
Lighting. Yeah.
Um, There are some webcams out there or cameras on laptops that do not handle different lighting situations very well. It's got to be very big light on you in order to look good on your screen. What happens is if you have if you're not lit well, the camera's having to overcompensate in processing your image, and that normally means it's going to get grainier, it's going to get blockier, it's not going to be as clean for people to see. And that's all because of lighting. That's the biggest thing I tell people. Before people tell me if they want to go out and buy a new webcam or they want to make their video look better, I'll just look at what they've got on their camera and say, well, you just need more lights. If you just get more lighting on you, you'll be amazed at how much better you'll look at that point. Right.
Yeah. Yep. No, lighting is key. And it's, and I would say kind of the lighting as an interaction with your webcam, because there are better webcams that can deal with the lighting more effectively. There are some poor webcams, but if you do light it well, then you'll find that can kind of offset some of those downsides, right? So I think so. Let's talk just generally about lighting. Alan, you are well versed in this because you make video for a living. You kind of understand how to get other people into the correct lighting mode. So just tell me kind of some of your tips of ways to enhance the lighting of someone on a webcam.
Well, I mean, if you're fortunate enough to be in a situation where you've got great lighting naturally, I've seen some good webcams where people just have great natural lighting in a room or situation they're in, and that's fine. Then it works great. I think, I mean, if you can look at your image and say that, yeah, it's visible. I mean, people can see you, they can see everything you're saying and facial features, and it doesn't look as too grainy because the webcam or computer's not having to try to overcompensate for the lack of light. Then, I mean, if you're fortunate enough for that situation, that's great. But most people I know, either in an office or in your house, you don't have that perfect situation where right where you want to be working, right where you want to be, have your computer set up, has perfect lighting on you. That's the situation with my office here. I'm in a office with no windows. That is my room, my little dungeon space here in my office building. So I am dependent on outside light, and that's where I have an external light. And I'm going to bring it over here, which means my lighting is going to go away, but I'm going to show you kind of the differences here. I am using a ring light. Oh, it's coming. So this little ring light device, it's very bright. You know, I'm showing it here. If I actually turned it off or have it hidden, you can see where my lighting is. I mean, you can still see me, but it is darker. It's not quite as clear. And in some situations, it's going to get grainier and more blocky for the computer to have to fix this. This, I think, was a $30 ring light that is actually on a stand that I actually have set up in the back behind my computer. So it's in the back of my desk. I can turn it on with a little toggle that's on the cord right near my computer. So if I know I'm going to be on a web conference, I'll turn it on. Now I'm going to put it back into place. And you can see that I'm here, and I don't even have the ring light up on its highest level. I think it's on the lowest level right now. So it can get a lot brighter, but I don't want to be washed out, and I don't want to be blinding myself either looking at it. So I've got it at a nice low level, but it's enough that it's got me lit pretty well. The ring lights, you know, I think a lot of people thought that those were just for your iPhones or something to clip on there and use if you're going to do like live blogging or streaming. But I think, no, they're really good for video conferences too. So if you've got the capability to have one set up that you can turn on and off very easily right behind where your computer would be, so it's casting a light on you and making you look good, then that's a setup I recommend for most people. And Brian, I think you are similar, right?
Yeah, I have a webcam that has a light built into it.
Okay, good.
So yeah, this works well. Actually, I'll click through my lights really quickly so you can see theirs without the light on. right? And then for those that are on audio, just imagine that I am somewhat dark and grayed out right now.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
as I turn the light up, you'll see now that it illuminates kind of my, uh, well, it illuminates what it needs to, right? That's one of the beauties, I think, of a webcam light, is that it's going to light up what it is that it's pointed at rather than
Hmm.
lighting up the entire room. And sometimes you don't want the entire room lit, right? You don't want
Sure. Yeah.
all the information back behind you lighted up. You want your face, right? You want it to stand out so that you can kind of show what it is that the person on the other side needs to see. So that's what I have. And Alan, one of the things that I'll mention, because I know you're going to give us some examples of different setups here in a minute, but I wanted to just quickly mention a couple of the maybe lesser thought of things that people need to be aware of when they're setting up their webcam. You mentioned the having natural light. So I'm in an office right now that does have a window. It's directly this way, right? And you could probably tell because this side of my face is a little bit more lit up than the other side. But I'm also in Oregon, and so there's not much sunlight right now. But I actually have the blinds closed almost all the time, because if I were to open the blinds up, and given that I'm in a place where clouds are often going by, you'll get completely blinding on this side. My
Hmm.
entire side will be white, almost glowing, and then dark, and then up and down. So I close it so that I can control my light. So keep that in mind. You may think, "Oh gosh, I have a great window." Well, for one, make sure that you're comfortable with the amount of light that's going to be coming in during that meeting, because if not, your camera's going to continually be having to darken, lighten itself. The other thing to keep in mind is if you are setting up your office for that natural light, please, please, please do not set it up so that you're looking directly at that, or I'm sorry, that you're in front of that window. I've been in meetings with people that all you see is a dark silhouette of them
Yeah.
because the window's back behind them, bright,
Sure.
and it's washing out their face. So if you're going to set it up with natural light, set it up so that the natural light is in front of you, maybe on the other side of your computer screen, so that you're getting that light brought in. And then
Yeah.
last thing, really quickly, that I'll mention, that these are things that I've had to deal with. One, I don't know if you can see. Well, back. Well, no, sorry, back behind me. You notice
Let's
I
have a
have
look.
a picture back behind me that's glass, and you can
Hmm.
see the reflection of what's on my computer. And if I would have put a really nice picture on the other side, this happens to be a kind of it's not going to reflect as much on that truck picture.
Yeah.
You could also have some issues that if you've got pictures behind you and you've got a ring light like this, all of a sudden that ring light reflects back to the camera and it becomes annoying from the people that you're dealing with. So lighting is key, but also keep in mind that lighting can be problematic with things behind you if it's not set up the right way. So do test it out,
Sure.
and make sure that's clear. So,
Yeah.
and then lastly, I'll mention I have glasses on. You don't, but glasses can also be an issue sometimes, especially with a ring light or a light in front of you where you're getting the glare right off your glasses. So you may want to think about that, about where that lighting is. I'll give you another quick example. So I'm going to turn this light off, and you can see I'm darker now. Well, I also have a light in the room that if I were to, I've got this light bent back behind my monitor, glowing up in the ceiling. I've got a ceiling light that I could turn on and make it really bright. But when you've got bald head like I do, all of a sudden you're getting a different reflection. So there's all these things about where the light is and whether the light's going to reflect back on anything, on any shiny objects, and making sure that
Very
you're
true.
paying attention to those things. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the good news about lighting is that there's a lot you can do just with natural setups, just finding good
Yeah.
locations, placement of windows, placement of other lights in the room. But again, be careful to make sure that the most of the focus needs to be on your face for lighting, not the rest of the room around you, because that can have some detrimental effects. I do think the ring lights are probably the best bet for most people, just to get immediate lighting on their face, very easy to set up and manage. And I know a lot of people, I've also, when I mention ring lights, I'm like, oh, I don't need it. I don't want to, I'm not going to be doing a lot of stuff online, social media, videos. I don't need that. I think we need to get past the idea that those are just needed for people who are just going on, Instagram videos or
Right.
something else.
Right.
Truly, I use mine. I don't do social media videos from this. This is for my Zoom
Yep.
or WebExes or any other FaceTime calls I've got from my office. I have this here, and I have a very similar one at my home office. So if I'm at home, it's the same setup, a little ring light, simple one to flip on. Makes a huge difference. To me, it's like automatic lighting for these things you can find on Amazon or other places. Very, very inexpensive.
Yep.
So I do recommend that for most people if they're looking for this quickest, easiest way to get good lighting on their face.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
So lighting is good. And Alan, I'll give one
lighting's
more
good.
real quick piece about
Mhm.
if you do look for a camera that has a light built into it. I have two of them. I have two of them actually in front of me. One I brought from another room because I was going to try to show you both, but I'll quickly just move this so you can see. This is what one of them
Mhm.
looks like. Not the one that I'm using, obviously,
Yeah.
but one that I tend to um, that looks very
Mhm.
similar to the other one, right? And what's nice about it is you touch it, and that's where the light comes on. You can see this one has
Mhm.
a bright light and then a yellow light and then off. Compared to the one that I have, the one that I actually use, this one has three settings. You touch, it's low, medium, high. Make sure
Mhm.
you pay attention to kind of what type of light it's going to have, and they're not all the same. The use of these two lights, even though they look the same, and I thought I was ordering something that was similar, their image is totally different. Their quality
Mhm.
of light is totally different. So something to certainly test out if you're going to buy something on Amazon, maybe, so you can try it, send it back if it's not the right type of image that you
Sure.
need. But lighting is key. Now I'll give one more real quick piece because I worked with a colleague of mine. About this, and that they did not have a light and the lighting setup was not that great. But I noticed as I was meeting with them, occasionally it would get a really good image and then occasionally it would go away, off and on. And what I noticed was that every time they brought a document up in front of them like this, okay, I'm bringing a document in front of me that's bright white. Okay, all of a sudden, so I'm going to turn my light off up here. I'm still getting decent brightness because I brought a big, on my monitor, I just brought a big blank document that was white
Mhm.
in front of
Mhm.
me that provides enough glow to my face for you to be able
Sure.
to see that. So if you're someone that really doesn't want to go buy something new, doesn't have a good lighting setup, just make sure when you're setting up your Zoom call, probably don't use the dark mode on your screen. Use the bright mode and turn the brightness up of your monitor. Put a
Sure.
white document
That
up
can work.
there and at least give yourself some lighting in front. So there you
Yeah.
see, I took it away, I put it back up again, so you can see the big difference that it
Simple,
makes.
simple homemade tips from Brian Jackson on how to get
It
some
hacks,
lighting on
right?
you. Yeah. Good. See, I'm
All
the
right. Well,
one that
what
go
else?
out and buy something. You've got it rigged up with paper and little home
Yep.
craft deal to get
Yep.
lighting
Just
going. So
bring up
it's
a
good.
Word doc. So, Alan, what else would I need to do
So
if I wanted to set up? So, lighting. Let's say check. We got lighting.
yeah.
What else do we need to worry
So
about?
how many times have you been on a call with someone, Brian, and you're looking at them like this, like they're like this talking to you, or they're like this, and this is the way you're seeing them when you're talking to them. Um, we may not realize
I
it
don't know
when
what
we're
you're
the actual
talking about.
person. Oh, right. Yeah, like that. There you go.
I
That's
don't
a
know
good
what you're talking about.
example.
Go ahead. Hmm. Yep.
And we don't realize it because it's comfortable for us as the person that, in question. We're able to see what we need to see on the screen. We're seeing other people, but this is what we're seeing of you because you've got your camera placed somewhere away from the natural eye line sight. Now, again, Brian, that setup that you just showed me may be comfortable for somebody. They're like, oh, yeah, this is
Right.
fine for me. I'm able to see the people's faces on my screen I'm talking to. I'm not paying a lot of attention to what they're seeing, but I'll tell you right away, it is frustrating.
Yeah.
I think
Yep.
for me being on a call where somebody has the camera off like that. And what happens there is that they're using an external webcam and they just found a comfortable place to put it next to their desk, and it just so happens to be shooting from an angle at them. This is why laptops, when you buy a laptop that has a webcam built into it, the webcams are strategically placed at the very top of your screen because they know
Yep.
that's the closest they can get to where your natural eye line needs to be. Ideally, you want your eyes to be looking at the camera, like you talking to people, because again, this is making it look better and being more enjoyable for everybody else on the call that you're on. Um, even with a laptop at the top of the screen, you're still naturally, if you have something positioned like I do right now at the bottom of my laptop screen, I'm not looking right up at
Right.
my camera. So you still have to be mindful even when the camera's up top. Here's a little trick I do, Brian, about placement on a laptop. And I'm going to share my screen and show what I do here. See if I can do this. This is going to look freaky because I'm going to be sharing my actual desktop screen. Okay.
Yep.
So you see
Yep.
my desktop screen. I actually have my screen shrunk up to where my video images are as close to the top of the screen as possible.
Yep.
So when I'm
Exactly.
looking at those screens, I'm as close as my eyes can be to the actual camera angle itself. So I know I'm making it very small to see these images on my screen, but it works really good because otherwise, well, this is really freaky to actually see it like this. Let me stop that. Because basically, the closer I can put other people's faces at the top
Yep.
of my screen near my camera, then I'm looking at them naturally and I'm more closely looking at my camera itself than looking like in the corner of my screen or down on my screen or anything else. It's really important to try to get that eye line as close as you can to your camera for really just a good appearance on a webcam conference call. Now,
Yep.
Brian, if you have a webcam that's an external one for like a computer, you don't have it built into a laptop. They do make some nice little easy ways. Either you can make it manually, some way to put the webcam up to where it either sits right behind your monitor so that it's
Mhm.
just peeking over the camera, just over your monitor view, so you can get as close as possible to what they do on a laptop.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's one way to do it. I've seen people who have a TV screen or a monitor like further away from them. They may actually put a webcam on a tripod in between them and the screen. Yes,
Yep.
you're kind of having to look through the camera to see your screen, but that is going to give you a really close approximation of I'm looking at my camera, looking
Yep.
at your face, as opposed to I'm looking anywhere else. So
Yeah. And I think the big key here is that you may not think that it's that important for you to look good or to look right or to look natural on a one of these Zoom calls, but we've been in this game now for over a year where we're having to all be engaged in this. And what's happening is, I think, a lot of this Zoom fatigue that people suggest, a lot of that's because it doesn't feel natural, right? When I'm on a call with, well, right now with you, Alan, or with several people, and they're all looking at me and they're all looking at the screen to where it seems natural, it starts to feel a lot more like a normal meeting, right? Whereas if I'm looking and I all of a sudden I see someone where their camera is pointed down, you've got someone else that has horrible lighting, someone else is kind of going from the side, it just feels awkward. And that kind of contributes to the fact that we just hate doing this. Whereas I actually don't mind doing it when I know that, like you say, you and I both we seem as though we're looking each other in the eye, or at least it seems that way as I'm looking at the screen, and it just feels so much more natural to have a discussion that way. So, so do your fellow Zoomers, your fellow, FaceTimers, a favor by getting your setup so that it feels natural for them, not just for you. And I think that's really, really key. So,
well,
so
ideally,
lighting,
yes, we want
placements,
natural for both parties. We want natural
yeah,
for you and for them. So that's why
yep.
you just make it as simple and comfortable as possible to do this. So
Yep,
yeah,
exactly.
okay.
So that's audio, right? I mean, I'm sorry, it's video. Like, get a webcam,
Well,
or putting things with lighting, making sure that you have
let's
some keys. Do you have some others?
but let's talk a little bit about the webcam itself, though.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
because I'm a video guy. I really pay a lot of attention to video quality and a lot of things that I work on or do, or especially when I'm trying to be on video calls, I'm trying to make it look as good as I can, just because that's kind of who I am. Um, and I will tell you right away. So I'm using a MacBook Pro as my laptop. So I've got the
Yep.
actual FaceTime camera that's built into my laptop, and it's okay.
Is that what you're using right now?
That's what I'm using right now.
Okay,
That
right
is
now is
my
the
laptop
built-in
webcam.
FaceTime. Okay, all right.
That's right. But I wanted to kind of say, you got a couple of options. Brian, you even flipped to another webcam a second ago for another angle.
Yep.
Yes, you can go out and buy another webcam and hook it up even to a laptop. And when you go into a Zoom or FaceTime call, you can choose which camera that's connected to your computer you wish to use. So just because you're on a laptop, don't feel like you're only obligated to use the built-in camera that's on your laptop. You can get an external one that you feel like may be better quality or look better. Here's the thing, though. I don't tend to find a lot of external webcams that are just standalone, simple webcams to always be the best quality. So the good news is that you actually have some interesting options for webcams nowadays that I want to show you a couple of examples of. I can, Brian. I love the way I can. I love the way an iPhone camera looks. Okay. I like iPhones as cameras. So can I use an iPhone as a webcam? And yeah, you can. There are some tools that will allow you to do that. So I've actually got one set up right now. I'm actually going to flip to it. And let me see if I can toggle that over to it. So this is now I'm using an iPhone as my camera. And if you can kind of notice, the tones are a little better. The colors are a little better, I think. It's a little clearer image as well. So I've got an iPhone set up on a little mini tripod, sit right behind my laptop screen, almost right where my camera would be on the laptop itself. And this is what I love using as my webcam because I just feel like it's better quality. I like it. I have an iPhone with me, so that kind of can become an automatic webcam anywhere I am. There's a piece of software. There's several software pieces that will let you do this, but it does require a piece of software to connect your phone to your computer. In this case, on the Mac, I use one called Epocam. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's Epocam. It is an app that you need to install both on your computer and on your phone. But as long as you have them running on your computer and on your phone, when you go into a Zoom call or anywhere else, you will see the Epocam listed as one of your video camera options. So, for example, if you're in Zoom, there is a little pop-up menu next to your video button where you can turn on or off your video that allows you to choose different video sources as your camera. So if you've got this software, the Epocam, installed on both your computer and your phone, and you've got the app on your phone, then you can now see your phone as a webcam source for your conference calls or your meetings. And I love it. It's my favorite way of doing it. We do a lot of production work in our studio where we have Zoom calls and all. And if we're doing remote interviews with guests or anything, we use iPhones as our webcams because they just look a lot better. And I like the quality a lot more. So that's there's a lot of other softwares that will do the same thing, software packages, but Epocam is the one I like the most. Epocam. It's both an app on the App Store and it's a download for your Mac. And I know there's Windows equivalents of those as well for different software, but that's something to consider, is using your smartphone as a webcam if you really want to look at quality.
So Alan, can I ask real quick though, are you using the front-facing camera or the rear-facing camera?
Front-facing camera. Front-facing.
So you can see the screen of your phone right now, so that you can.
No.
Oh, the front. No. You're taking front as in outward facing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Front-facing. Yes. I'm sorry. The more standard, not looking at yourself camera. Yeah.
Okay, not the selfie side, but the outward side. Yeah, because the outward side, just for people to know, that's a better camera.
It is a better camera.
They purposely have put better cameras going out than they do coming back in. So, using it, flipping it around, make sure that using the better of the two cameras, especially the new cameras, the ones that will allow cinematic mode or allow kind of the portrait mode, right? Those things can look really, really nice. Yep.
Well, I love the way this is an iPhone 10. This isn't even one of the newer phones I'm using as a webcam here. So it's 2 or 3 generations old, at least right now. And it's still, I think it looks great. Now, let me step it up one more game. If you really, really are looking for a really great looking webcam video, and you don't mind putting some money into it, or if you already have a DSLR camera, and I'm talking like a true DSLR camera that you use for shooting photography or video, there is a tool that will allow you to use your webcam, your DSLR as a webcam. It is a device. I'm going to see if I can pull up the image of it. I don't know if I can or not. I'll bring it up on the screen here in a second and show. But
Okay.
they make some devices. The one I'm using is from Elgato. It's a Cam Link device. It is a little box that I'm going to bring it up. I should have had that pulled up beforehand. I apologize. I know.
Rookie.
I am.
Well, while you're saying
It's
that, so
pricey. Look, it's a
Elgato,
pricey. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say Elgato is the same company that makes the Epocam or Epocam. So Elgato is both of them. So they're kind of they're the people to go to for using
Yeah.
different versions of input.
Well, this is the device on Amazon, so you can see it's pricey. It's $100. Okay, it's not for the faint. It's not for just anybody who just wants to have a better webcam to talk to family and friends. I mean, this is where you really want to have a great visual quality to your web presence. But the way this works is you can see it's got a USB on one end, so that USB actually goes into your computer. On the other end is an HDMI cable, and most modern DSLRs have an HDMI out on the camera. So you take an HDMI cable from the Cam Link to your DSLR camera, and voila, you then have you can now see your DSLR camera as your webcam. And again, you've put some money into it, but again, if this is something really important to you and you want the best quality and you like the look of it, you can certainly do that. Now I'm going to turn on my DSLR. I had it off. Hold on just a second. You're going to see me move around a little bit here. And I'm going to, Brian, entertain everybody for a moment while I do this.
Yeah. So, okay. Let's talk a little bit about, let's talk about, gosh, Alan, I don't know. Yeah,
that's okay.
Did I do enough?
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have asked you to do something so difficult on a spur of the moment like that.
It's not on our notes. I'm sorry. I was not ready for that. Ooh.
All right. So this is me. And granted, I'm looking a little off camera because the camera is off to the side. So kind of pardon that. But if you take a look at this, this is my DSLR camera shooting me as a webcam now. So not only am I a lot more detailed, but I've got, based on the lens that I'm using on my DSLR, I've got a great out of focus background, which looks really nice. Not lit as well. I would have to add a little more lighting. The DSLR isn't picking up light as much as my iPhone was. But I tell you the look though, if I'm looking right at the camera, kind of that visually, I think you can see the quality difference right away.
Yeah.
On the video side. So
a lot of times I think you need to exfoliate a little bit more, but yeah,
probably so. I know. When you see a lot of professional video bloggers and people online, a lot of them are using DSLR cameras now to record their videos. And the fact of the matter is, for a minor investment you got to put into it, you could actually use, and if you don't mind having a DSLR camera kind of setting up and ready to go as your webcam, I mean, it's kind of cool that you can do this and how good it looks, and it kind of works with a recording like this too. So I apologize to everybody on audio, not able to see the difference here, but I've basically toggled between, my DSLR camera. And then if I go back to my iPhone camera, I've got that here now, back to the iPhone level. And then I can go one more level down to the built-in FaceTime camera that is on my laptop. And you can start to see a lot of different levels you have to work with. So again, if you really want to pay attention to video quality, that's some ways to make it look better. But each of those options starts to cost a little more to get there. Obviously, the built-in camera you've got on your laptop, or a simple Logitech camera or some other source that you can buy anywhere to plug up to your computer, is going to give you good video. It's just, is it good enough quality level for the kind of work you want to do with it? So
Alan, on your on the DSLR, will it focus, or is it set on a set focus distance?
It just depends. It depends on whether the camera's set at. If you have it set, if it's got an autofocus,
that live view that it has can do the autofocus, continual autofocus.
Depends on the camera. This particular camera, no, doesn't have a live autofocus, but some do. So it just depends
something
on
to think
camera.
about, right? If you're going to be stationary, and as Alan is right now, it's great, right? You set it up, and this is the plane I'm going to be in. If for some reason, which I can't imagine many would do that, but being forward and back, you're leaning back, you're up and forward and everything, then you may find that some of the focus may be tricky with that, but your quality is going to be really, really good.
Yeah.
And Alan, one more question.
So
Can
here
you,
I'm
yeah, so
again,
lean
and
back
you're
a little
right.
bit.
If I move back,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm out of focus. It's not going to get me in focus. And of course, even
So
here,
you're, yeah,
I'm pretty
you're a
good
little bit
focused
out.
there, but there's where I set the focus to. So that's going to be the
Yeah.
best level. Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to know your DSLR camera and know its capabilities and what it is going to do. It's
Right.
basically taking the live feed of your camera, whatever you would see in that digital viewfinder is what it's spitting out to the computer. So that's just where you
Yep.
need to be mindful of that.
And Alan, do you have to have that dongle, or if your computer has an HDMI in, does it allow the
Um,
HDMI to go straight in?
yeah, there are some ways. I mean, I know some camera makers are actually providing you with ways to
Hmm.
hook your DSLR directly into your computer. The key is will it work automatically with your web
Yeah.
conferencing software?
Yeah.
That's the big
Yeah.
question mark. I know for a fact the Cam Link I just showed, and then for an iPhone, the those different software packages are meant to integrate with Zoom and WebEx and all these other web conferencing software. I can't say for certain if a camera manufacturer that provides a way to feed the video signal in, if that will automatically work with Zoom or other video sources. I think you'd have to kind of
Yeah.
experiment and see how they promote it. But
Yeah. That's really cool, though.
the good news
Hmm.
is that if you have a DSLR camera, there are ways to get that signal in to be your webcam if you wanted that level of quality to work with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And maybe I'll just mention really quickly, you'll notice that a lot of what we've said is about lighting that's in front of you, about cameras that are in front of you. If you're talking a DSLR that's in front of you, now all of a sudden having your computer monitor up against a wall doesn't make a lot of sense, right? My particular setup right now is that my office desk is actually in the middle of the room. Okay, so I'm facing kind of open end on the other side of the room where I can have, a camera, a light, all sorts of things back behind. I've got space, right? That I don't have my monitor right up against a wall where it doesn't allow me to have an additional camera or any of that sort of thing, or tripod. So keep that in mind, right? The way in which we create our offices um, are often based off of how we're going to use it. And now that you're trying to create the best image of yourself, in these meetings, the most realistic, you may have to reorganize the office a little bit. So yeah, that's
That's true.
good.
Well, I think on the
Well,
video side, that's pretty much what you can do to
yeah,
make your video look better. It's lighting, camera placement, where your eye line is going to be looking at your camera. And then if you decide to upgrade your camera to a higher quality or different levels of cameras, that's really the options you've got on the visual side. Um,
right, right,
let's flip over to audio because I think
yeah,
I'm of the mindset, Brian, that you can have the worst, you can have the best video quality possible. You could have the best video image. If your audio sucks, then it really damages the whole experience no matter what. I'd almost
yeah,
always rather have better audio than video if I had to choose between the two. If you told me I could
mm,
only have good one or the other, you got to give me good audio for any kind of conference call, meeting, FaceTime, Zoom thing I'm doing. Audio is going to be more important. So,
yeah,
how do we get
yeah,
our audio sounding better and make sure it works right?
yeah. Well, I mean, so
I'm asking you, Brian.
there's
How do we do our?
well,
How do we
okay.
get audio
I was going to
sounding
say
good?
thank you for the
Yeah,
pass off there.
yeah,
Um, well, I think very similar to the discussion of video, the built-in things don't always work the best, right? The
mhm,
built-in things are made for efficiency. For example, the webcam that's on your laptop, really that's made so that you always have a camera. So you could be out and about, you could be at a coffee shop, and you've got a camera. The same thing with the microphone that's there. You're going to have the ability to do sound, but it's not going to be nearly as good or as isolating as having some other device. So,
yes.
both you and I right now are using microphones, actual external microphones, right? I'm going to lift mine up a little bit. There's Alan's,
Mhm.
right? So we're
Brian, you
using
have
external
a.
microphones.
Is yours a Yeti by Blue?
That is a Yeti, correct? There's a Yeti by Blue. Yes.
By the
Yeah.
company Blue Yeti.
Correct.
Mine is a Samsung
Okay.
microphone.
Yep.
Um, this one I've got was about $60, I think. It's maybe a little more than some people may want to spend on a microphone, but Part of the
Yep.
reason I've got this one is it's both a USB mic, which I can connect to my computer, but it also has a professional audio input called an XLR input. So
Hmm.
if I needed to use it in a professional studio setting, I've got it available to use there too. Not as
Yep.
necessary for a lot of people, but that was the reason I went with the mic I did. Um,
Yeah.
the main key is just, something that's more external than the one built into your computer that you can get closer to your mouth, you can be better positioned to, and you're speaking directly into
Right.
instead of it just picking up everything else around you. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And well, let's think about it. So if I'm on my laptop, if for depending on what the laptop, what type it is, but for many laptops, the microphone is right up there next to the camera. So depending on where it is on your lap, right now, it's not that close to your mouth. It's going to be a decent distance away. So just having an external microphone means, for one, you can shorten the distance between you and the source, or you and the device, which means there's less chance for wind to get through. There's less chance for other sound. The other nice part, and I didn't know this, so I've never had an external mic until we started this podcast, and I bought this, is that a lot of these microphones have the ability to change for, okay, are there going to be 3 or 4 people around a table that I need to pay attention to, or just one person in front of it? So that allows then the opportunity. I mean, I don't know if anybody has had this, but if you try to do a web conference while you have multiple people in the room, becomes really challenging with sound, especially off of a laptop. Right, the laptop is closed off and it's pointed directly to you, but not the people on the other side of the table. So having kind of this multi-directional microphone option, that it could also be just a standard mic, I think is really nice. So if you have those situations where you're in where multiple people need to be heard, or just you that really wants good quality audio, then the external mic, I think, becomes really helpful.
yeah.
Um,
Well, Brian, I switched my audio to
ooh,
the laptop audio right now.
Yeah, very
Let me tell.
echoey. Yeah, or a
Yep.
very you're in a closet right now is
Yep.
basically what it sounds like.
So that
Yep.
is my natural laptop. And again, this is in a room where it's four solid walls. I don't have any background noise behind me. But you
Yep.
can still hear that it's a little more, if there were some things happening behind me, you would hear that a lot more with this laptop microphone. And it just has a different sound to it altogether than if I were to switch back to my dedicated microphone, the one I showed you. Now, here I am with that microphone that is an actual standard microphone right in front of me. So I can get, if I got really close to it, you could tell it's a much stronger sound than what I was getting from the laptop microphone.
Yeah.
So,
And I just now switched as well. So is
yep.
that a difference?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So big difference. Yeah. So I think the key is that having yourself close to some. Okay, now I'm back to the
Yep.
regular
Oh,
mic,
yeah.
right?
There you
Just
go.
being closer to the mic, you get that rich sound. You get to actually, you don't have the echo sound. You don't have the feeling that you're in a closet.
Yeah.
You get that kind of direct. You really get to be the NPR, kind of the local public television, kind of
Yeah.
smooth voice. Yeah, that's great.
Well,
So
no, let's go ahead and make sure people are clear too. I think, because again, I think a lot of people may not even realize you can add other cameras or microphones to your system and choose those instead of the ones that are default on your laptop or device. So, for example, Zoom, when you have the options on your settings to choose your video or choose your audio, if you have a microphone hooked up, like one of these, or if you have a camera hooked up, like one of the one external cameras I showed you, you can choose between them on those little pop-up menus
yeah,
that are available there. Same thing on WebEx, same thing in other conferencing software. So don't feel like that just because there is a camera and microphone on your computer or device now that you're limited to just using that. Um,
yeah,
I do wholeheartedly encourage people, if you are attending a lot of calls and meetings and things from a set location like this, like I am in my office, I think a microphone is an extremely worthwhile investment to have sitting there ready to go, already plugged into your computer. Once you set your default settings in like a Zoom, it remembers those. The next time you
yeah,
open up Zoom, it remembers which microphone you used last time. As long as that microphone is still hooked up, it's going to go to that by default. It's just a much better experience. So much better
yeah,
experience on everything.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So, Alan, what are your thoughts on using a microphone from, say, the AirPods or some form of kind of headphones
Well,
that have microphones built in?
I I would still rather use a microphone on the AirPods, like the little earbuds I've got, or headphones, more than I would the natural
The computer.
microphone
Yep.
on the laptop or computer.
Yep.
Just
Yep.
because it is closer, when you see proximity wise, there's a microphone on this guy. I'm not using it. I'm using this microphone, but this is
Right.
still closer to my mouth and a little more isolated sound than this guy up at the front of my laptop picking up everything else. Um, it's still not, I mean, I still want to have a dedicated microphone. Don't get me wrong. These are not great microphone sounds, but I think they're a little better than your onboard microphone on your built-in one. Um, so I know a lot of people will use this for their conferencing, both to hear and to have the microphone, and they work fine. But again, I think if you're in a stationary sitting spot to do your meeting or call, your external mic's going to be your best bet. Is going to just work so much better.
Yeah.
Now,
So
headphone
Alan,
wise,
I just switched to my AirPods as the microphone. Can you tell a
yeah,
difference?
oh,
A little
absolutely.
bit?
So the quality is definitely not as good as the dedicated
Yep.
mic.
Yep.
You don't have quite the echo that we had with your laptop or your
Yep.
built-in microphone, which is good. It's a little more focused sound coming from your mouth, but it's just not great quality sound.
Yep.
Where the great quality is going to come from your dedicated mic.
Well, and just keep in mind that what is nice is that it provides me the flexibility. So now I'm
Sure.
leaning back, I'm away from the mic. You're still getting probably the
You're still
same
there.
exact thing, no matter where I
Yes.
am, right? So if you are someone, let's say you were teaching a class and you are going to be back here
Oh,
on the board, you're
absolutely.
going to do different
Yeah.
things. This is a fantastic way of doing it. It's better than the laptop. But
Yes.
yeah, if you're going to be stationary, like for looking at the screen, switch back to having an actual
Yeah.
microphone, I think.
Now we haven't mentioned headphones yet, but believe it or not, headphones are kind of important to have if you're going to be doing a lot
Yes.
of
Yes.
conferencing work, because for one particular reason, if you, let's say I have this microphone, let's say you decided, yes, I'm going to get an external microphone. I want to do that. Well, microphone doesn't have a speaker on it. I mean, it's not meant for playing back sound. It's meant for gathering sound. So your sound, it still has to come from somewhere. And by default, it's going to come from your computer, any computer speakers you've got on that computer. So what happens at that point, if you're not wearing headphones and using the headphones to listen to the conversation you're in, then what's going to happen is the sound coming off your computer, there's a potential to kind of bleed into your mic, and it could cause a little bit of echo. It could cause some feedback. Sometimes if you've gotten into a Zoom meeting call and you hear somebody kind of, it sounds like there's like a feedback loop going on. It's mainly because they've got their speakers turned up so loud, and that's what they're hearing everybody else's voice from. And their microphone is then picking that up and cycling that back through the call, which is really, really annoying. So
Yeah.
I recommend
That is
headphones.
probably my number one frustration when I get on large meetings is someone that is not wearing headphones. And again, the software has gotten much better at and detecting
Yes,
certain
you're right.
voices versus surrounding sounds, but you can still get in that feedback loop, and it is very frustrating if someone's got their speakers up so they can hear, and yet we're hearing ourselves talk in a feedback loop. It is maddening. So, yeah,
Well, the
do
way you
people
get
a favor
around
if
that,
you don't mind, do headphones. Wear headphones.
yes.
Yep.
And unobtrusive, simple ones are fine. It's just as long as you can hear it. It's, I'd much rather talk to somebody who's got these on than to see them with the big can headphones on. So, I mean, feel free to do
Sure.
little simple earbuds, whatever's convenient for you to hear. All it's doing is making sure that it's your microphone's not going to pick up any sound coming off your computer audio.
Right.
That's the biggest
Right.
goal for that. And now you're right. Especially on laptops, I've noticed they are really good at trying to distinguish between sound coming
Getting
from
better.
the
Yep.
computer versus you. But there's still that chance, and somebody could still have their volume turned really loud, and it's going to make a difference. So, headphones are just a great, smart way to go with that.
Yep. Yep.
Now,
And
Brian,
I think
outside of
I think
go ahead.
headphones,
Yeah.
Alan, headphones as your microphone, and also having an external microphone. The other benefit of those things is if you're in a loud space, if you're in a coffee shop, let's say, I mean, these microphones, like what you and I are using, they're made to, you tell it, okay, I want this a single directional, right? Look for information that's coming directly from, me. Now, of course, would I be taking this to a coffee shop? Probably not. I'd probably do my AirPods, because my AirPods at least are kind of listening for my voice
A
and
little more
not all the
directional. Yeah.
surrounding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a little less of the surrounding information. So, you know, again, just like we talked about with video in our last episode, be nice to the people on the other side. Don't just make it so it's nice for you to see and hear other people. Make it so that they have a better experience of seeing you and hearing you, so that put a little more time and effort into it. I think makes a big difference.
Ryan, do you know what my number one pet peeve is? Number one, like in all,
Uh,
not just
in
technology
life,
based, in life.
in life,
Yes. Yes.
does it have to do something with comic books or anything? I don't know. What where are you going?
No, there's no pet peeves there at all. No, it's when somebody is playing a off their phone or an iPad, volume up in a public setting. Or you have your laptop or you have your phone and you're watching a video or you're playing a game and you have your sound up, so everybody in the place is hearing the sound from your
Yeah.
device. So apply that to your web conference. If you go somewhere and you are on a conference call, a web conference, but you're in a public setting and you don't have headphones on, everybody around you is hearing it. And that is my number one pet peeve. Do not
Yeah.
make me upset if that happens around me. So at least
you won't like me when I'm angry. Sorry to
plunk
bring
down
another
20, 30 bucks
hero.
for some 20, 30 bucks for some simple, cheap headphones. They don't have to be the best quality, just enough for you to be able to hear the people you're talking to. And it allows you to prevent any feedback loops on your audio. And it's really a much better experience for everybody around you. So
totally agree. Yeah. I wouldn't say
Brian,
it's my biggest pet peeve in life, but yes, I think it is.
No, it is totally mine.
It's good.
No, really.
Wow.
I can't think of a pet peeve bigger than that.
So I know exactly how to trigger you in the future. That's awesome.
If I'm at a restaurant and some little kid is playing a game on their iPad super loud, and it's just, or watching a TV show, cartoon, and they got like the volume all the way up, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's terrible.
Or the people that believe that speaking like this is, perfectly okay.
Walking around having a phone call, with voice, sound completely up, talking. No, don't do it.
I'm definitely with you on that.
Do not do it.
That's horrible.
All right, Brian, how about some quick little hacks about things when you're on a conference call that can help also with your audio? These are the non-techie things, the non-equipment or purchase-based things you can do to make your audio a little better.
One thing I would mention really quickly, Alan, is check your audio in advance. Yes. Make sure you check that out and make sure what it sounds like. Zoom has a really easy way of doing this. You can go on and say, check my audio. You can click and say, check, and then you speak, and then it plays it right back. So you can actually hear, oh, wow, that's what it's going to sound like. And you know whether or not to get closer or further away, because what has quickly become one of my big pet peeves is just the initial setup time it requires with every web meeting I seem to have now. Oh, you're muted. You're muted, Alan. Alan, you're muted. You're muted. Okay. Yep. Right. Oh, I'm sorry. We're hearing everything. Can you turn the feedback loop? Can you click? It's like, oh my God, we have to go through this entire process each time. Do it in advance, and if you can do that quick check in advance, that right when you hop on, you're ready to go. Another thing I'll mention really quickly: learn about the mute button and use the mute button if you're going to be someone that's going to start dealing with crackers and opening up things while you're doing. Use the mute button. You mute. You can still hear everybody else, but if there's someone else in the room, you're not going to be distracting all these other people. Now, there's a caveat here.
Yeah.
Be comfortable with coming off a mute. So when it's your turn to speak up, rather than you doing lots of things where everybody's like, oh, John, you're on mute again. You're on mute, right? Recognize that where the mute button is, know that anytime you're speaking, you got to go first to the mute. And it takes a little practice, but it can make the experience so much nicer for everybody.
Let me give you a little hack on that too, Brian. Zoom, probably the most popular web conferencing software everybody's using right now. In Zoom, if you put yourself on mute, your computer spacebar acts as your temporary unmute. So just imagine if you are going to leave it on mute because you may have some background noise going on or some other things and you don't want to be distracted, put yourself on mute. But the minute you're ready to talk, you just press and hold down your spacebar. That will temporarily unmute you. So the idea there is that all you got to do is press, hold spacebar, boom, you're now unmuted. And then when you're done talking, let go of the space bar. That's a much easier way for me to kind of remember if I want to leave on mute for the rest of the show. That's how I would do it. So I think
So treat
everything
it
you
almost
said
like the
about,
walkie-talkie
yeah,
approach,
exactly.
right? It's like, hey,
Yep.
when I want to talk, I'm going to press and hold, whatever. Yeah, you go kind of
If
be
you
the
get
direction.
used to it, it works
Yep.
great. I think WebEx and others have similar hotkeys or button you can press to do the same thing, but use
Yep.
that. I'd say by default, go on mute if you're not the person running the meeting or running the conversation. Put yourself on mute by default, and then just press the space bar whenever you're ready to talk. That is
Yep.
the best way to make sure that you're not interfering audio wise with anybody else. So
Totally agree. Yeah, I think that's
I
really
think
smart.
this is all great. So audio wise, we're basically just quick sum up. Check your audio in advance. Make sure your audio is set up the right way you expect it to, and it's going to sound the way you expect it to. Use headphones whenever possible, even little cheap earbuds, just something so to avoid any feedback or any kind of loops or distracting audio for other people. I recommend using an external mic if you're going to be in a set location for most of your calls. It's a worthwhile investment. It sounds so much better as we demonstrated earlier. And remember that mute button. And just keep in mind
Yeah.
that, when your mic is not muted, like you said, Brian, any noise that's happening in this vicinity, people are going to hear. It's not just because people don't just hear you just because you're talking. They will hear anything else that is a noise on your end. So use that mute button liberally, I say, as much as
Yeah.
possible. And
Yeah.
don't be afraid to use that on a regular basis.
Yep.
All
Yeah,
right.
I think you're better off not being heard and having to be reminded to turn your mute off than it
Yes.
is to have embarrassing things being heard, which we've
I
all
agree
experienced.
completely.
So yeah. Yeah.
Well, Brian, I think that's kind of the things we wanted to hit on today
Yeah,
is
this
kind
is
of
good.
some simple, quick do's and don'ts and ideas for video and audio. Again, you can do a lot of these things. A lot of the things we mentioned, you don't have to put money into. It's just knowing where to place things and how to use things and little tips and tricks. But there were some options in there. Obviously, if you do really want to up your game, you can put a little money into it, a little more equipment. You can do some really great things on audio and video with your
Yeah.
settings there. So, yeah.
Agreed.
Good. Well, Brian, if anybody else has some ideas to share with us that we didn't cover, how can they reach out to us?
Yeah, send us an email at info@themesh.tv. That's info@themesh.tv. Or you could visit our website, which is brothers-in-tech.com. So brothers-in-tech.com. And there'll be a way to kind of connect with us there as well. So kind of tell us your uses, your hacks, your ways of making a better online visual and audio experience, and we'd love to share those with other people. So info at themesh.tv.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching or listening today. We will be back next time with another episode, but we'd love to hear your feedback, as Brian said. So any topics or things that we can get into from a home, family, personal technology standpoint, we are here to be your resource. So thanks everybody for watching or listening, and we will talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.